Hi, and welcome to this Impetus interview, a series of conversations where we take a deeper dive into the project showcased by the EU Prize for Citizen Science. This time round, we are joined by the citizens for SDG 15.1, a citizen science initiative that is focusing on expanding a protected natural area within Serbia. And we are joined today by Milika and Ivana. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So I suppose just as a brief introduction to the Citizens for SDG 15.1 project, could you describe kind of the rationale behind it and how you use citizen science to do this work, I suppose?
This project was focused on investigating biodiversity in the Ribnica Gorge that is located in the western Serbia. This project was related to collecting different the information about species that live there, since Ribnica is not very investigated previously, and citizens were highly included in the investigation. One of the citizens included was me. I'm here as a citizen scientist, and it's my pleasure to be here, thanks to Ivana. Ivana was the leader of the project, and we wanted to collect the information about the biodiversity, and then with that and with this information, we wanted to give clues and proofs that this area must be expanded. This protected area must be expanded due to its rich biodiversity and richness in beautiful areas that are around the investigated areas. I hope that I answered to your question.
No, that was perfect. Thank you. I suppose just as a kind of follow-on from that a little bit, for those that aren't in the Sustainable Development, so SDG stands for Sustainable Development Goals. Exactly is like, what is the concept behind specifically 15 and 15.1, and yeah, how does this feed into the work that you wanted to protect biodiversity in this region?
Well, maybe I can respond to this one. Of course, SDG 15, Life on Land, is focused on biodiversity and, of course, protected areas. We are completely focused on SDG target 15.1, especially indicator 50.1.2, proportion of important sites for terrestrial and freshwater biodiversity that are covered by protected area by ecosystem type. It's important to mention that Serbia is on 39th place of 14 European countries regarding protected areas. We have a small degree of protected areas, and we should have more protected areas. Now it's around 8%. And it should be much higher. In European Union, the average is 25% of protected areas, according to European Environmental Agency reports. And it is very important to find the ways how to increase the number of protected areas, the area of protected areas, and so on. Also, I have to mention that our project contributed indirectly to SDG 6, clean water and sanitation, especially indicator 632, the proportion of bodies of water with good ambient water quality. Why? Because this area is covered with limestone, and waters go underground and then are exploited to give water to people, of course, very high quality underground water. But if we want high quality underground water, we need to have healthy nature above it. So actually, this protected area is important directly for human well-being and water, for water sanitation.
And it's so interesting to hear, like, yeah, you're trying to increase the areas of the protected regions and environments within Serbia. This might be a bit of a fundamental question, I suppose. What extra protection does having this allocated like distinction provide for these regions? Like, obviously, it's very important to have extra legislation to protect these areas, but in expanding this further, what protection does it kind of provide to this area?
Well, it's important for these areas to go into legislation and to be recognized by state as protected, because then these areas will have different benefits. For example, additional funding for the conservation activities. Then, for example, some funding for monitoring, because it's not just important to protect and to keep it like that, but also to monitor. And what is very much important, a local community should also then adjust their actions towards protection of nature. For example, I will give example agriculture. Around protected areas, it should be more oriented towards organic agriculture or agroecology, in order to conserve the protected area. So it is important because it actually demands change in behavior, in how we behave in these areas, and it can be also the source of economical benefit for local community. Protected areas actually provide a lot of money by ecosystem services, the benefits that nature gives us. For example, pollinators that provide higher yields and so on, but it can be also economically important in the context of ecotourism.
And that's so interesting that you talk about kind of the benefits of having these natural protected areas for the local community as well. I suppose this kind of round goes back into the citizen science of it all. Just sort of, how did you encourage like engagement with the local communities to take part within this project? And what were the specific kind of what were the specific citizen science kind of actions that were taken as part of this project?
We use media releases to actually promote this project and citizen science involvement. And what we did actually, we made a call and had desk and field research to collect data. Maybe Milica, as citizen scientist, can actually give us some citizen science perspective on this field work, maybe.
I was included in the fieldwork. Thanks, Ivana. I was included in the fieldwork, and it was an amazing experience. We were going through the river with our bare foot, and we were investigating different species that were living here. I'm botanist. In general, that is my field of investigation, and I was mainly interested in plants, but there were different fishes, snails, and different other life forms that we were seeing. For example, we were seeing excrements, I think I'm saying that right, of bats. And that was really interesting because there in Serbia, I was not in the, I didn't have an opportunity to see that very frequent. So that was an amazing experience. And firstly, that going through the river basin, I have never experienced that earlier. There were different kinds of people, different work fields. They were coming from different perspective, I have to say. And in that place, we together had the same aim. We wanted to explore that area, and in that time we were all even, I don't know, that was very enthusiastic and great experience. I lost my words, all of them.
No, don't worry at all. So the citizen scientists were part of the data collection process, but they also worked with local experts as well. Was this training done like prior to these expeditions, or was it sort of in the field sort of training?
We had small training before the start, because we had to send them some applications that they should download, free applications for nature research. For example, for bird research, to collect the sounds of birds so they can be detected and so on. but also before the field work in the morning, we would all sit and see what we will do that day and how to collect the data. But of course, during the field work, you have a lot of unexpected things, and some things needs to be solved on the spot because you see something that you didn't expect to see. So actually, we combined both of these approaches. So in field education, and of course afterwards, for example, for butterflies, we use some literature data and the pictures of butterflies to determine which species we found. And we had small training what to look for, like distribution on the map. If the species is not frequently found in Western Serbia, it's probably not that species. So we were actually showing them how to use literature data, like books, scientific books, or popular science books for butterflies and so on.
And looking at the data that you collected, you seem to find a massive amounts of species. Like it seemed like it was a very rich biodiversity area with around 940 kind of species identified within this region, and then like a number of them being kind of protected or significant species, and then a few kind of novel to like some new species, like full stop. So which is very exciting. But I'm just kind of curious about, for these, were they identified on the spot, or again would you have to take samples back for like official kind of classification and that sort of thing? And yeah, what was it like kind of finding species totally novel to science? I suppose that must have been really exciting.
Yes, during the project, there are 944 species discovered, out of which more than 100 are protected or strictly protected by a local, by country legislation. And it is important that out of that species, 6 are novel for the science. That means that they're only found there and nowhere else in the world. For example, those are 3 species of centripedes, 2 species of snails, not very big, around 2 to 3 millimeters, and there was 1 species of insect that belongs to Hemiptera. And it is important to know that information, because this can lead us to the conclusion that this area represents some kind of refugium, that there are species that are very important to our country. And these informations are proof for one of the aims of the project, to enlarge this area, the protected area. That information was huge. That is really huge to know that there are some uninvestigated areas, and we spent days there and we found new species. So just to think about that there are many areas in Serbia that weren't explored before, and that there possibly can be life as well, new life that has been found anywhere in the world. It also should be mentioned that there are in Ribnica Gorge, there are 12 species discovered only there in Serbia and nowhere else. Thank you.
I can just add regarding this question about did we collect it on spot? Yes, of course, we collected on spot. It was the samples were collected by experts, because it's important when we collect to know why collect and what will be done with the material. For this species, we needed expert help, because they are very small species, and they demand specific equipment like microscopes to have good pictures and to see what's going on. So it was essential to have expert help regarding the description of these species. One paperwork that is published about caves had in acknowledgement the citizen scientist who helped during the process to collect this.
And yeah, it must be so nice to be, I don't know, to do a citizen science initiative like this and be, yeah, part of a new discovery, I suppose. It's one of those, one of those rare things that lots of naturalists would like to aspire to, but rarely do. Do you know what they named it in the end, or has it been named, or is that still to be confirmed?
Yeah, we know, but actually we are not sure until it's published. Should we say it? Sorry.
No, don't worry.
Sure. Yeah, sorry. Maybe I can ask, can I tell? We know that it will be named about, of course, the nice toponyms of the place where we were, but yeah.
So like the idea of, yeah, having these, just looking a little, like spending a little bit of time and taking a closer look and finding these novel species. I imagine like gives the idea of expanding this area a lot more credibility. And again, if there's only, I think you mentioned like 8% of Serbia that's protected, if there's similar areas like this, how many more countless other species are there to discover, I suppose? I'm just wondering if you could elaborate a little bit about how this work done by your project has been fed into changing policy and this process of expanding the protected area, I suppose.
We actually read very good report after the project was finished. It was report from other NGO who did the analysis why this process of protection is so slow. The reason is that to investigate and some area and to complete the procedure lasts 10 years. So with this project, we saved up to 3 years of research because for 6 months, we actually did so many work that, and we gave so good high quality data to the legal entity Institute for Protection of Nature of Serbia, so they can save a lot of time for this, and of course money for field work and so on. Right now they confirmed that they would be happy to start this validation and evaluation of this area. So we expect in the next years for their experts need to come to the area to see all the points that we marked as important and to double check them, and then we can expect the procedure to continue. But we saved, I think, up to 3 years of serious work here.
Mm-hmm. And how big is the expansion going to be, or the proposed expansion, like in relative terms to?
Around 5 times bigger.
About 5 times bigger. That's very impressive. Yeah.
Yes,
Sounds
around
fantastic.
5 times. Yes, because the area is only 28 hectares, and we placed the map that we want to expand. You can see this map in IMPETUS video, and you can see it's quite a remarkable increase of protection area.
And has there been any challenges in this proposition?
From my point of view, one of the challenges was term citizen science, because it's not so wide present in public in Serbia. I don't know what's the case in other countries, but here maybe it should be more elaborated in the wider public. What is citizen science? Why is it important? Why it's not pseudoscience, but real science, and how everybody can benefit from it. So in the future period, we need to work on this to explain more about citizen science and its potential. Another problem that I think all citizens initiatives have is the data quality. Trainings for citizen sciences should be really good, and data quality should be really good in order for decision makers to consider them, especially when it comes to policy changes and so on. Because of that, we included experts. Determination of species is sometimes very difficult, and we needed their help. So I always recommend to Citizen Science Initiative to have some connection with academia, with scientists from institutions, because they can help a lot in this data quality contribution.
I can say that from the perspective of citizen scientists, I haven't felt any, I don't know how to say, limitation. That was for me really free. Like I have had all investigate. There was only my personal challenges. I have to say, I didn't think I didn't know, do I collect the data correctly? Do I work correctly? But when Ivana said there were also external experts to validate that data, I was more free to do like citizen, not as a scientist, because I work as sometimes I work as a scientist as well, and then I had that in mindset that everything has to be precisely correct and everything, and I didn't know that am I doing that right? But even I said there were also experts that can confirm that data we are collecting. So that was maybe a limitation, but everything I felt on the field and during the investigation was positive without any restrictions, I have to say.
Mm-hmm. So what comes next for like the use of these results, I suppose? In part, will you try and aim to do further similar projects in this region, or try and expand your scope to go to other areas of Serbia? Will you use it for public engagement to tell people, like the general public, about the importance of caring about their environment? Yeah, what is the ideal scenario for your next steps, I suppose?
Yeah, I will say one part, and Milica another about new project that we started. We think this project has huge potential to expand further. And because we introduced citizen science to wider public, and now people actually from our citizen science community expect, of course, to continue to work on this. We continued the research also in this year. Milica can explain later about this project. But what we did, we promoted the project in wider public and in all national, local media that we could contact, and it was very good response of wider public. Like newly found species for world science was a huge news in some even national media, it was a real sensation, and the methodology was interesting for media too. So now we continue to disseminate and promote these project results because it will pay attention to this area. What is really interesting, we actually did some questionnaires after the project, and almost all citizen scientists actually wrote that they feel more connected to this area because they participated in the research of it. So we expect they will continue to come and to do the research in this area. And Milica can say now something maybe about the project in this year, what we are doing there.
There was great opportunity for us to continue this project. For example, there was a first public call by Center for Promotion of Science in Serbia. That was, I have to say again, first public call, and we applied with a project called Ecosystem Services Assessment of Ribnica Gorge, Western Serbia, to citizen science. This project is coordinated firstly by Faculty of Biology, University of Belgrade, and the leader of the project is Dr. Jelica Novakovic, our colleague, Ivana and my colleague. I am as well from the Faculty of Biology, and partner institutions are Ecological Movement Frame of Life from Ionica and Association for Cultural Heritage from the League. It's called Chelnik. This is important because we have an opportunity to continue the work and to work on ecosystem services. Why is this so important? Well, the term ecosystem services is not that frequently mentioned in Serbia. For example, when we started to write that project, that was the first time I saw that term. And when we were writing about it, the more we write, the more I understood, and ecosystem services are all natural benefits or benefits that nature provides to us. It relies on biodiversity that was recorded in the previous project founded by IMPETUS, and natural capital. For example, Ribnica have a huge natural capital, for example, water, limestone, different the species of woods, etc. And that belongs actually to biodiversity. But this is important to mention that we were one of the 6 projects that were founded by Center of Promotion of Science, and currently we had a training for citizen scientists that lasted for 5 termines. I don't know. We have 5 dates to Ivana, can you help me, please?
5 training days.
Yes,
for
5
scientists. Yes.
And we are planning to have field works in the August, September, October, first field works. Citizen scientists will also collect data related from the literature related to ecosystem services. And it is important to note that we will investigating ecosystem services on 4 levels. They are provisioning, regulatory, and cultural. That is very important because Ribnica represents a huge spiritual center for the Kolubara district. That should be mentioned. And also, and the final supporting ecosystem services, they are a little harder to evaluate, assess, but we will try our best. I don't know, even I can say maybe more about tools we use or something like that. I hope that answered.
We actually, with this report from IMPETUS project, now we will add the report from Ecosystem Services Assessment project. So it means we will get very, very detailed screening biodiversity and benefits for biodiversity there. Ecosystem services actually prove that biodiversity is key for human well-being, and they earn a lot of money. They earn, but we don't see like that physically, but they earn actually a lot of money for all of us by air purification, soil making, and so on. So actually it will be really, really good result at the end.
That's so interesting, just because today is not to date this interview if it comes out a bit later than this, but Earth Overpass Day, just sort of like, yeah, it feels very kind of prudent to be talking about this on the day that, yeah, we've used up all of Earth's surfaces for 2024, unfortunately. And you mentioned being involved with the IMPETUS project because I know that Ivana, you were involved with the project last year, and Melissa was sorry. Joined later on after being part as a citizen scientist in this further development of the project. But I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about how your involvement with the Impetus Accelerator helped develop the project.
Yes, of course. It was an amazing experience because actually it provided so many informations for our citizen science initiative. As I said before, citizen science is not so present in our wider public, and I didn't know much how to actually realize the project. So I needed a lot of information how to involve citizens, what is the ethic of research, and so on. But the part that I found so good is the impact assessment part. That was like the revealing for me totally new perspective on project, because it provided the long-term vision of what will happen with our initiative, because it provided a lot of insights about political, economical, environmental, scientific impacts that we can have. And we saw that we can really work hard on different levels and different aspects of the project. So actually, the trainings were very high quality and the speakers high quality. And it was also very interesting to see how to communicate our results. That was also important because we often forget how to communicate easily and with terms that are known to everybody. So it was really nice to go through IMPETUS Accelerator. It was amazing actually, because I mean the money by itself doesn't mean a lot if you don't have this kind of support that we had, and of course amazing mentorship that we have during the IMPETUS Accelerator. I have to mention that too.
That's That's so nice to hear, and also it's so fantastic to see that there's been a few actually projects from the last cohort of the accelerator that have gone on to be featured in this year's EU Prize for Citizen Science. And it's obviously done independently. We aren't really part of the selection process. So it's just nice to see that the projects that have been involved with the Impetus Accelerator are going on to be recognized for their great work, I suppose.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I suppose my last kind of question is there anything that we've missed? Is there anything that you would like to add before we bring this interview to a close?
I don't know, maybe somebody would like to hear the profile of our citizen scientist. Maybe that can be interesting, I don't know. We had different ages, education levels. We had the most of the people were actually from law schools and and kids. So we have a lot of them participating. So it was really nice, and we had older people even above 75. So it was really nice to have this generation overlap and to see them all working together.
And it's very exciting to think about, in the next few months, it sounds like you're going to be very busy with more trainings, more exhibitions, more going out into the wilderness and maybe looking for snails and that sort of thing. But unless there's anything else you'd like to just add at the end, I would want to just say thank you very much for this very interesting conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for the opportunity. And you as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and bye for now.